Hi there. It's been a minute since I've made an epicseven video, but a lot has happened. Some things interesting, some things cool, some things bad. Overall, I'm going to make this video a bit more casually just to kind of review, I guess, what I've seen, what has happened since, I guess, the recent couple months that I've taken off from Wuthering Waves and Zenless Zone Zero. But if you're watching this, I guess you're on the second channel. You're looking at the second channel. This is more cannaaaa, and this is going to be a bit more laid back, just kind of my thoughts on the patch. And I guess from the time that I've spent playing the game, seeing it, talking about it with a couple of my community members, these are my thoughts. Let's get into it. All right, so as you can see here, this is the content update that was a little bit a while ago, is, for 7.4. Mage Luna's out. In all honesty, I really was super psyched for Mage Luna the first time that I saw the April Fool's Day Mage Luna. She looked super cool. She was super exciting. And I'm not trying to kind of bandwagon on disliking Luna or anything like that, but the truth is that I don't really like this design too much. I think some of the cool, I guess some of the aspects, the colors, the unison, the design is excellent in some cases, but things like the horn kind of making like the top of her head look a bit smaller than usual, which is not even helped by the fact that her boobs are literally enormous, really does not help the design of this character, although I understand they're trying to market the absolute living bazonga out of this character alongside Fallen Cecilia. Makes this a cool character, definitely, but I don't know who wants this proportion. It looks like actually comical, like almost unrealistic, which is kind of fair because that's also what old Luna has, if you're familiar with that character. Her kit looks pretty disgusting, if I'm being real. She's 124 base speed. She does a lot. She is kind of like Knockwall, but on a lighter kind of... I don't even know how to describe it. She's Knockwall light, it basically feels like. But in exchange for that, she's a little bit faster. Though she doesn't prevent enemies from hitting you, which I think is the big, kind of distinguishing factor between the two. However, she is a non-attack skill character with the seal and the strip all buffs, which is kind of cool. And she also has, ignore effect resistance, which is just ridiculous. But more than that, I've seen a couple people try to use her as like a damage dealer. Doesn't really seem like that works too well. Her damage is mediocre, I'd say at best, just based on the memeing and testing that I've seen surrounding her. But talking about the Moonlight Theater and all the different additions that they've added to the game, in truth, the game looks pretty interesting. A lot of things outside of some things I don't want to get into that aren't gameplay related look pretty cool, or they're very exciting. Fighting against Yuffie sounds cool. Adding an EE for an ML5, I don't know if I necessarily know if that's going to be ideal or if that's going to be good long term, but I think it's interesting nonetheless, which I was always an advocate for. I was never a huge fan of, oh my god, and let's play, the same 5 units forever. Ludwig in particular is one of my favorite characters, right now, and he was one of the newest characters that came out, same with Cavill. Well, relatively speaking. But now we have a lot of different things that are being added. If you aren't familiar, Moonlight Theater now has an event tied to it alongside ML Luna, who has a really pay-to-win-y kind of event tied to her. To be clear about the pay-to-win activity, or I guess I could just talk about it now, this whole pack thing that we have going on with ML Luna and surrounding her is good if you're a whale, or you're a casual spender, or if you're someone that's a bit of a dolphin. This is probably the first time that epicseven has really released packs that feel worth it in terms of your bang for your buck. However, on the flip side, or on the counter to that, is that do you really want to be buying predetermined stats? If I'm not mistaken, I don't remember exactly where it is, but there's something where you could see exactly what the stats are. Oh yeah, from this, you can buy not just, again, mystic metals and the leaves from this, which that's not a problem. That's everyone can buy that, or it's not inaccessible to anyone. But buying gear when other people have spent hours upon hours upon hours farming, and insinuating that if you want at least a certain level of gear or a certain level of stats accessible exclusively through this pack, you should just buy these packs. Like, that sort of thinking is very dangerous. And I know a lot of you feel that way as well, where maybe the 17 speed, which I believe is what it is, on these pieces of gear is not very helpful in certain cases because it's 17 speed. It's not like 108 equipment score, but it sets a dangerous precedent. And maybe this time no one complains about it, or if we hadn't spoken up or complained about it, it would be fine. But what happens next time? What about the time after that? What about the time after that? It's a very slippery slope, as I'm sure all you guys know, and I'm not an advocate for or think this is good either. Though I do want to say that rather than take away literally everything that is good about this, because that's kind of been Smilegate's, I don't know, their go-to when it comes to, I guess, hearing community feedback. They kind of strip away everything and they go full nuclear on feedback and criticism. I would highly recommend that things like the welcome summon pack, again, they don't show the prices here because, well, I don't know why they do that. They just preview it. But one of these, if I'm not mistaken, the welcome summon pack here, it's 2 5-stars for something like $5 or like $3 or something. Same thing with the welcome growth pack. I think it's like either somewhere between like 99 cents to like $5. These are great. These are perfect packs for those of you that are kind of itching to get into a game, and, you know, kind of similar to games like AFK Journey. That initial itch is all it takes for Smilegate to get in. And the packs themselves are pretty worthwhile. It doesn't feel that predatory, just because, again, it's $1 to $3 and they give you 2 5-stars. And if you're willing to spend on the game, it's kind of like okay. And it doesn't feel like you're being spit at or like, you know, spat in your face when you're buying these packs. Now, there are other packs in epicseven's history that feel this way, and these include ones that are like the, hey, spend $45 for like 10 penguins. Like, what? Comparatively, these feel very good, and at least for this current update, I'm very happy with this. But let's move back, because I do think that the Hall of Trials is really cool, and I touched on it earlier, but there's Moonlight 5-star, or there is a Moonlight 5-star EE, or a set of Moonlight 5-star EEs that are coming. They're cool. Now, whether or not this system that they have is going to be implemented properly, or if there's going to be even more things we have to talk about when it comes to competing, who knows? Because as you, I'm sure, are probably familiar with right now, Arena is also a bit on fire with people being like 20,000 points and there not being any resets. But take a look at this, because honestly, this is the original system for Hall of Trials, and with the new proposed system, now it would be something like, okay, you need to be within a certain rank, like presumably you have to be in the top, 5% or something like that for you to receive, or for you to be able to buy 1 copy, I believe, of the new Moonlight 5-star EE. So it encourages you to continue playing. However, I don't really know if I like this system. If I'm not mistaken, unless I'm like super mistaken by this, it really does, or if I'm not mistaken, like it does cost 40 for you to even buy one of these, which makes us even more competitive at the top end. But I assume that there's going to be an adjustment to price. If there isn't, well, that is what it is. But I think that would be a big blunder from Smilegate to do so, because having to be in the top 100 to get an ML 5-star EE sounds extremely unfriendly to new players. And imagine, again, right now it just is Briar Witch Iceria with an increase in defense break chance, and Arbiter Vildred gaining literally like Moonlight Dreamblade and like evasion when he revives. But imagine if it was something like, I don't know, Closer Charles gives greater attack buff and crit damage, but the only way you could get it is if you rolled like a good EE from this, and you had to be, you had to be top 3, right? It's once a week. And if you aren't in that top 5%, in this case, you're going to have to wait 2 weeks for you to get that. Feels a little bit weird. And again, if you're a new player and you manage to get your favorite character and their EE, well, good luck, because again, this is 30 to 50%. That says 15. That's at the current rate. I believe that should be 3 weeks, 3 whole weeks, and you performing well in each of those for you to even get an EE. But as far as I know right now, or as far as I can tell, there's no, I don't really know what it is. That being said, let's actually talk about the EEs, because I do think they're kind of interesting. Archdemon's Eye, which is Arbiter Vildred's, his EE. It gives him 50% evasion and 30% attack increase. I was doing a little bit of thinking. Again, I haven't been super invested in playing E7 like that, but I've been doing my Guild Wars, been doing Arena, hit Emperor, 2 or 3 if you're curious, but whatever. Anyways, talking about this EE, the evasion, of course, is really nice because now you could argue pairing something like MLDB with him is going to be really strong. But I was more intrigued actually by the prospect of running something like Gab with this. And if you end up just running Gab and you revive with a 100 and, you know, like over 100% attack buff, that's a little bit spooky. However, keep in mind that this is Arbiter Vildred, and although technically speaking, being given the additional 14% attack does also play a factor in how much damage he does, look at the characters we have got. Look at the characters we've got going on right now, guys, right? Like, Arbiter Vildred's OG counter, Moonlight Haste, is back in the game. He's one of the most oppressive, most OP characters that I've ever seen, and he's ridiculous. And then you have characters like Navy Captain Landy, who nullifies his damage just by not being crit. You have Senya, who is also equally as disturbing and is in every single arena defense ever, who just provides a barrier to the backline. And then all of a sudden, you're not going to kill the 40,000 HP Senya. So whether or not this EE is actually that good, I likely doubt it. If you're trying to anti-cleave with him, maybe that's a bit more of an option for those of you that don't have access to some of the more premium options nowadays. That's pretty cool. But talking about Briarwitch Iseria, this character's a little goofy. Now, being given a speed EE of all things is very interesting because this character definitely wasn't always run as an opener. However, I believe with this, I think she's 114 base speed or 115 base speed. Let me open it up real quick. Sorry, I'm opening this on the side. Is she 114 or 115 base speed? Damn, these stats are not helping me. Okay, I think she's 114. If she is around that 123 speed range, which puts her ahead of characters like, you know, Conqueror Lilius or even the Lua. And I believe also Emma Politis, if I'm not mistaken, which is quite interesting. However, I think the biggest thing that people are going to be taking away from the EE is the fact that now you have an 85% chance to defense break, which puts her in line with Ran. This is obviously pretty cool. Does quite a lot to her. But ultimately, I think right now we're in a weird spot where, though Briarwitch is very strong, especially against characters like Blood Moon Haste, I feel like it might have been a little bit nicer to get, I don't know, like crit chance or like maybe attack or something for her EE. That being said, I feel like every time that you see Briarwitch Iseria right now, unless if you're in some AI kind of, you're just fighting against NPCs, there's like an ML Politis on the screen. There's like, you know, there's like a knock wall coming at you hot. There's a Conqueror Lilius. It feels like there isn't really a reason or a way for you to fit Briarwitch in right now. Not saying that she's bad, of course, but it feels like the speed is not going to be grounds for you to go, okay, and now I'm gonna like KO this whole team because I'm 10 speed faster. Like, even if you're a 300 speed Briar, okay, did the enemy team, I don't know, like take Ed? Did they take Designer a little bit? Did they take any cleansers? Death Dealer Ray is really big right now in the game. And he can run like Wondrous Potion Val. So I think the defense break is nice, but I'm not holding my breath for how good either of these EEs are. This is probably the most, or like specifically like the defense break increase here, is probably the most nice for those of you that are trying to play Briarwitch Iseria in more controlled environments like Guild War and PvP. But yeah, it's pretty cool. These are hopefully not an indicator, or these two banners are hopefully not an indicator of things that are going to be added. But yeah, they also apparently have been, again, adjusting things for draft mode, which is really cool, and there's a bunch of bug things. But before we get into the balance patch adjustment, which is what I also want to talk about at the end of this, let's talk about the stickers, because these look great. They look quite nice. I think that Wretched Rose being one of my also like favorite characters with like her delinquent skin, I think it looks a little bit odd with Wretched Rose. I don't really know the aesthetic that they're going for. I guess it's supposed to be like a desecrated, a hopeless, chaotic kind of rose skin, which I'm not really sure how that's going to work, because that might mean we have two dark roses. I don't really know what's going on there. But I think the stickers look cool. They look excellent. You do have to do the Moonlight Theater, if I'm not mistaken, or I think you might actually just unlock these from doing some random thing. But there's also another activity, I believe, that gives you a sticker, a Luna sticker in general. Yeah, it might not be, I don't know what it is, but you'll see it in the story if you take a look at it, especially if you take a look at the events that you have available. It should be in the events tab. Anyways, before we get into the balance patch, I wanted to comment about the stickers because I do think they're pretty cool. But also, look, we've got more inventory size. 700 up from 500 for you hoarders, myself included, is quite nice. And 350 hero slots instead of 300 is also nice because sometimes you don't want to clear out of all the characters in your inventory. Sometimes it's annoying to unequip the characters' gear and then re-gear them and then put them back into storage and back and forth. Quite annoying. And then if we want to move on, let's talk about the balance patch because that's actually what came out today and part of the reason why I wanted to post right now. Remnant Violet getting his buff looks absolutely hilarious because he's, you know, obviously 50% evasion now, which does make him feel a little bit better against those of you or against those of the team comps that try to just dispel a buff. I mean, prior to this, I mean, let's be real, guys. There's no way that Remnant Violet was even, there's no way he even had a chance against characters like Knockwall, or sorry, not Knockwall, against characters like ML Politis, or against the Angel of Lights, or even the, you know, Conqueror Liliuses. But now he has evasion built in, and if you are using something like Double-Edged Crescent, or if you are using, you know, the obvious option, Shepherd of the Hollow, which gives you more damage as you get lower, he's got 70% evasion. He's basically on the same pace or on the same level as Aiden right now, though I do think that evasion in general is kind of losing a bit of its luster with how much people are using like true, it's not like true damage, but it's like a guaranteed base damage, like just flat damage that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's crit or like doesn't have to crit like Moonlight Haste's S3. It's like full def pen. It doesn't crit. Like a lot of these things are really goofy for that reason. Like giving characters evasion or buffing someone like Remnant Violet right now is interesting, but not interesting enough to stop him from getting one shot in this case. However, we'll have to see how the damage increase does because I think that's probably going to be the biggest seller so that he can eliminate one of the threats that can one-shot him and then kind of evade 100 times against the remaining allies. Now, talking about Sylvan Sage, I think this is probably the biggest change. However, she might also suffer a similar fate to Rylet, where, in truth, the changes that they've been given, both Remnant Violet and Sylvan Sage, are ones that they need. These are terrific changes. If you implemented these changes 5 to 6 months ago, they would probably be considerable picks, especially before, like, characters like Bride Senya and, you know, the Moonlight Haste changes came in. These would be top-of-the-line characters, primo characters, especially in last season. However, despite the Sylvan Sage gaining more damage through her scaling on S1, despite her giving herself full focus now, or full focus at the start of the match, and, you know, being immune to debuffs, and also, again, like, you know, doing more damage, or having more damage, I guess, just through her skill 3, would have made her a little bit more interesting, especially against characters like Spectre Tenebria, or if you ever see, like, the Fringe APOC Ravi, maybe an Ed that was picked too early. But now it feels a little bit weird because you already have characters like Moonlight Politis who reduce the number of focus that you have. You have characters like Solitaria who are still around. You also have all the true damage and all the extra damage ticking from characters like, again, Rimuru. You have to deal with someone like Janua. All these are kind of concerns, though I do think that the main reason why Sylvan Sage's change was given to her, or the main kind of case that Sylvan Sage was designed to be, or is, I guess the buff was designed to prevent Arrowell from just stunning her and then killing her. Like, I'm like almost positive this is exactly what they were trying to prevent here, or from being stunned by like someone like Solitaria. But if you're already fighting against Solitaria, you probably lose. However, with this, I do think it's kind of interesting because, again, it feels like it's a step in the right direction, though probably not for this season or for what we're seeing right now with all the Senya and all the Janua and all that. But moving along, we have Yuna, who I'm sure Jenna is screaming and jumping for joy because she's gotten a buff. But this, again, a lot of the changes that you're seeing here are the changes that probably should have been shown or given to these characters months, years ago. Like Yuna's S2 being an extra attack or being an extra, like an extra turn. Come on, right? Like that sounds so obvious. And of course they removed the extra turn on the S3 to compensate for it. But that's how it was supposed to be. You gain, you know, you increase you increase your utility, you give yourself an attack buff. Maybe you give yourself something with like a ranger artifact that gives you souls so you can soul burn on another character because you're using a non-attack skill. Whatever the case is, It seems like a pretty solid idea. Yuna might actually end up getting played, and she's a free character. But I could definitely imagine if someone ends up using someone like Yuna on Guiding Light, who knows, or maybe even something like Biblis's artifact, where after you do an AOE, you get to go into stealth. Don't quote me on that though. I'm not actually remembering exactly sure if it was you have to do an AOE not on your turn, or if it was just an AOE in general. Regardless, the Guiding Light or having something utility focused could be pretty cool, especially since now she gives an attack buff. And she also, again, CR pushes the entire team and does an attack. But keep in mind as well now that you aren't guaranteed to crit on her skill 3, so you are going to have to build crit now. And the changes for, again, her kit do look kind of interesting, where now you have an additional CR by 5% per target. Wait, is it? I think it's per target. I want to say it's per target, right? Is that the case? I don't know if that's the case or not, but this CR one I don't think is going to be super impactful. I can't say for sure. Again, I'm definitely not a Yuna user, but the EEs being changed is definitely something to note. However, I do think that being unaffected by cooldown increase and decrease effects is also nice if you end up being in a position where, again, you don't want to get reset by someone like Lua. Well, okay, now you don't have to deal with Lua, and you could just kind of use your skill here, right? Like, you don't have to deal with Knockwall as well. You could just get off your S2 into S3, or your S2 into S1, whatever the case is, and that's pretty cool. For Moonlight 4-stars, we have a Tieria buff, which is just purely a new player buff. They're just making her do more damage, and I guess she'll do a little bit more damage for those of you trying to use her in Banshee, but Banshee Omegalol when Rift is out now. Anyways, talking about Mercedes, though, a lot of the changes that they gave her also just look like more new player-friendly buffs. They're making her do more damage. They're now moving it so that her soul burn is to her soul burn on her S3 so that she gets a longer attack buff. And Camilla, again, look at all these changes, and this is the most well, yeah, obviously, this is how these characters were supposed to work, type changes that you've ever seen. Now, instead of needing Benimaru's Tachi on Camilla or needing some random way to get her attack increase, now you just have to use S2 because that's what they changed her kit to be. Now she just gives herself an attack buff for 3 turns, by the way, and that's quite impactful. And now she just gets to be what she always was supposed to be, an attack buff death break on an S1. Granted, they didn't increase the total death break or anything, which feels a little bit weird. However, it is what it is. I'm trying to read just to be clear as well. Yeah, her S1 didn't get changed. Just wanted to make sure that was the case. But they also increased the damage on her S3, which might make her kind of nice for the Ancient Inheritance as well. But moving along, we also have I'm gonna zoom in on this, by the way. I'm blind or something, I can't see. We also have Aether. Now, this change does literally nothing for Aether. Again, if you're a new player, I guess this will make your experience at the start of the game even better. But unironically, who is using Aether? And then finally, we have the artifact changes. Again, a very new player kind of friendly. Maybe they're trying to be more presentable or more appealable to new players. And as you can see here, it's just Mighty Yaksha. I'm sure half of you guys don't even know what half these artifacts do. And personally, I didn't know them either until I was trying to do a video with God Doggos. But increase attack by 20% when 50% when you're above 50%. Decent, especially if you don't have another artifact and you're low level. Goblin's Lamp, now it increases, or you gain a soul after an enemy is defeated. There's no cap on this, by the way, from what I can tell. So if there's a way for you to use this in some meaningful way and in some PvE content, sure, cool, whatever. And I mean, what it did before was just obviously not worth it. Honestly, not talking about what these artifacts used to do isn't even important, as opposed to what they do now. Envoy's Pipe now giving you an additional, or now giving you a 10% damage decrease, is okay. It feels like baby proof, but now you won't have to recommend every single player and their mother to get Proof of Valor as soon as they drop if they want to get something like Warhorn or Symbol of Unity. Symbol of Unity is kind of, it's okay, but I think Warhorn is nicer, especially if you're trying to tune stuff for certain fights or for one-shots. And then finally, Ascending Axe giving you 12% crit is okay. Honestly, I can't imagine that anyone is sitting there and not just using Midnight Bloom or just trying to accommodate for the crit chance. but it is just supposed to be something a bit more interesting to take into consideration. But yeah, these are the changes that they're talking about for 7.18. I would say overall, this is pretty much the biggest like a Dodoi kind of patch that you've ever seen. Like all these changes are things that probably should have come to the characters kits earlier. And yeah, I think honestly, it's a W patch, but you'd expect that with so much hype around Emma Luna, maybe FCC would have shown or peeked her head in. However, as I think a couple people have noted, giving FCC a buff right now before the E7 World Championship might be a bit suspect for balance, but again, I won't even go too much into that. However, I think at the end of it, the patch is maybe a 6.5, probably 7 out of 10. And now, I do want to talk about the actual packs for a second, because this is a bit concerning. Again, Emma Luna being introduced, I get it. She's like a, big booba character. Everyone loves it. And so there's like kind of two spectrums of, or like two ends of the spectrum for this. On Reddit, and it was just posted very recently, I actually saw this post talking about how Emma Luna and the packs are working in China, and how like apparently, according to some people, they're saying that I guess according to West Cole, apparently this is the highest peak that they've ever had in terms of performance. But obviously there are also alternative conversations or threads talking about the fact that having good packs in general is nice, though keep in mind that the second that you start making good packs or value packs, why would you not continue to milk the cow? Or why would you not continue to make more packs that are appealing to players? And well, that's true. There's literally no reason for a Smilegate, especially if they saw a comment like this or a post like this where they're starting to trend, they're starting to make more money in China, for them to not introduce better or more impressive packs. Now, again, like the actual packs themselves, they have something like 17 speed or that specific stat line. It's nowhere, it's not like, again, it's not like 110 equipment score, but 17 speed on an effectiveness ring, which is something that you can buy, by the way, is very impactful, especially if you're playing someone like Knockwall, if you're playing someone like Emil Politis. But like it's being said, maybe at first some of the other pieces may not be super appealing. However, I don't think that matters in the grand scheme of things, because that's not what people are concerned about. It's whether or not this will continue to be like a snowball effect. Like, will this be something that will end up resulting in, oh, well, like, what if we give them another rule? What if it's a 21 speed? One more additional rule is pretty crazy, in my opinion. 22 is almost the fastest, or 22 is the fastest I believe I have for my rings, which is, I mean, I don't even want to talk about how much I've spent on this game. But in any case, guys, the packs, again, are something of concern. That's not so much the balance patch, but just in terms of everything that's been going on in the patch and in the game right now, I would say epicseven's in a cool spot. They've been doing a lot more promotion, or they've been doing a lot more event-esque related stuff. And yeah, I'll probably be posting a bit more about this game, or about epicseven, probably on this alt channel. So if you'd like to stay tuned for that, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Thank you again for watching, though, guys. Make sure to check out all my socials, join the Discord, all that jazz. But yeah, it's good to be back. It was cool to see some of this patch, or see some of these patches. I don't know. Maybe I'll do a couple like people talk videos like this. If you want to see that, feel free to let me know in the comment section. If you don't, well, I'm just gonna be here talking about epicseven anyways, because I mean, I'm not really showcasing the characters as much anymore. Maybe I will, maybe in like Arena or Guild War, because I'm not taking RTS seriously. But yeah, cool to be back ish, just for funsies. Anyways, yeah, I'll see you all next time. Bye bye. See ya.